Hello, everybody, and welcome to another awesome and amazing episode of Shin Kicking Mondays. I'm your host every Monday at 12 Central Time, Bernie Shung. Anyway, I have been seeing quite a few different comments across the interwebs about challenges in finding that one thing that you want to be known for, or finding that dream job, or identifying the kinds of people that you want to work with, honing in on that voice that you want to speak out into the world, or even just simply knowing more of what you stand for so that you can go out into the world, make things happen, not apologize for who you are and how you show up. And all of these different things are referred to by different names, but I really think that this is all about getting more comfortable about who you are and understanding why you're here. And I know a lot of people are throwing around those buzzwords like finding your why. And I think that that's scary. It's scary and overwhelming for people to feel like in a single session and a Sunday afternoon that they have to hone in on that answer of what their why statement is, and that's hard. So today's conversation, I want us to really focus on, first of all, are women challenged to find the purpose and know who they are and what they mean in this world other than being a mom, a daughter, a sister, a wife, and whatnot, right? And this actually is something that I think that we all, regardless of gender, deal with, right? This honing what you stand for and your why statement. But because I've been hearing a lot of women talk about this and seeing them write about this quite frequently in recent days and weeks, I figured it would be great for us to hone in even a little bit more in the women entrepreneurs, especially, or women who are leaders in their own right, and what it means to them in terms of how difficult is this challenge, right? If it exists at all, and I believe it does, because I am a mom, I am an entrepreneur, I am a woman. I do wear a lot of hats. So number one, is this a myth, or does this challenge really exist? And if women really are challenged to find our voices, our purpose, our calling, our dream job, or whatever you want to call it, how do we break through that? I know there's no simple answer, and it's not something that is going to happen overnight. It's going to take time for you to understand, why am I here and what drives me every day to wake up, do this awesome work that I get to do that can make a difference, even if I feel like I doubt myself or that I can have any kind of influence or make an impact on anybody. I'm just, measly little old me, right, is what we convince ourselves constantly. And because I'm a woman, I can say I do realize this is a female thing. Being raised in a patriarchal society, in my culture, and on top of that, also being in an American culture where it has been a little bit challenging for women as well. And I can say that about pretty much any other country, I'm sure, but because I've only lived in America, I can only speak to being an American woman. But being a Hmong American and being a woman on top of that, I do understand how challenging it can be to feel like I serve a purpose and that I am good enough to make a difference wherever it is that I want to make a difference in the world, no matter how great or small that purpose is. I realize how daunting of a task that feels. And being able to feel confident enough to show up every day and do this work, regardless of what you do. For me, I'm a coach, a strategy consultant. I do this web show and podcast, and I'm a writer, and I just authored my first book. So when I think about all of these different hats that I wear, I realize it is very challenging to show up and convince myself every single day that this work matters. and that something I have to say is intelligent enough or important enough for others to subscribe and listen to it, or that something I have to write is good enough for people to digest and consume, or that things like this, episodes like this, that are being produced to give you content, to give you something to appreciate, I have to convince myself every single time I do it that I need to turn that video on, that I need to have these conversations, that I need to bring up these topics because they are important to me. And even though I'm not getting the immediate feedback from you, I know that when you finally do consume this information and you apply what you learn and you change your life, I know that this can impact you and this will help you. So understanding the cycle of all of those relationships, I realize that that's why I have to keep showing up to do the work that I do. So let's go back to this conversation then about feeling challenged as a woman to hone our voice, right? So again, take the example of the mom entrepreneur who's married and juggles a lot of different tasks within the home and outside of the home. How does this person identify who they are and their individuality, if you will, if a lot of the things that they do on a day-to-day basis is to serve other people, right? And so if I think back several years when my son was much younger and I was a soccer/wrestling mom, I showed up at pretty much 99.9% of all of my son's practices and tournaments and competitions. And I realized that it was a full-time job to do that on top of the full-time sales job that I also had at the time. And in that sales job, I traveled quite a bit. So we've got this mom who's got a full-time sales job, is traveling 25% of the time, and finds a way to get to 99.9% of practices for her teenage son. And that doesn't even include all of the things I was doing personally in my own life as well, my own hobbies and interests. So as I think about that, I remember at the time when people would meet me and they'd ask me what I do, or we'd kind of talk about our lives, I remember often saying, I work in sales, I have a son, I'm a soccer mom, I'm a wrestling mom, and I think that was really it. I don't know that I had other labels or even, interests or hobbies that I use to describe who I am as an individual. And when I became an empty nester a couple of years ago, it was a culture shock for me, you guys. It seriously was, because I felt like I had been running around, like a chicken with its head cut off, but I got so used to it that when I wasn't running around like that anymore, being mom, being, this wrestling mom, the soccer mom, traveling for a corporate job, having a list of Fortune 500 accounts in a territory that covered US and Canada, then I started to feel less like of an individual. I felt less like I served a purpose at all. And this is before I even found coaching. So we're talking about back in summer of 2008 was when this was all going down. And I remember thinking to myself, and I was actually pretty depressed at the time. I mean, I had a great job, great place, great money, but I felt like I lacked this knowingness of here's what I'm meant to do, and here's how I can help, and here's why people come to me. I didn't really have solid answers for that. All I would say, and this is no disrespect to anybody who's still working for an employer, but at the time, I gave my all to the employer, and I gave my all as a mom. And so I would say I'm a wrestling and soccer mom and a corporate sales exec, and that was really all I had going for me at the time, which is great stuff. But when we talk about having hobbies and interests and what are you good at and what do you want to be known for, nobody really had, nobody had asked me those questions back then. Nobody talked like that back then when I worked in my corporate sales job. Nowadays people do, we content creators and online marketers, we're always talking about, what is your why statement and what's your passion, what's your purpose? Like, nobody ever talked to me like that back then. I'd knock them in the face if they did. But today that's primarily a lot of the things that I do talk about with my clients. is let's find out what it is that you're excited about. And then let's also fuse your talents and skills and your craft into that work so that you can find a good balance between what it is that you want to do and what it is that inspires you. And then at the end of the day, how can that impact, influence, and improve the lives of others around you, the people that you touch. And so for me, when I fell in love with the life coaching profession and I chose to jump out of corporate to start my own coaching business, that's when I realized that I had that calling, if you want to call it that. That's what I called it at the time. And the calling was, Bernie, you know that you can make a bigger difference in the world than you already are. You're doing great stuff, but you don't feel fulfilled inside. So why don't you go out into the world and do work that will make you feel better about yourself, that will help you improve your life as you're improving the lives of those around you that you interact with and touch. And in the process of you working with these people, you all are improving together. No matter how big or small that improvement is, that kind of self-development and professional growth will sustain you. You know, at least that's what my calling was kind of saying to me. These were the ideas that were ruminating in my mind at the time. And so I decided to go with it. And I'm so glad I did, because my calling wasn't, oh, Bernie, you're supposed to be a life coach and you're going to be a life coach for the rest of your life. And that's what is going to make you happy and you're done after you figure that out, right? That's not what it said. What it said was the next part of this journey is this. And the reason life coaching was my first choice to jump into after leaving corporate, it was because that's the only thing I knew at the time that really fueled me with a sense of fulfillment and gratification, knowing that I can get better, whatever my circumstances were, as I'm helping other people get better. And together we're healing in this co-created relationship of two people trying to do great things in the world as they're improving themselves and being good people. I mean, I know it sounds cheesy, and I know it sounds very head in the clouds. I've been told that years ago by some friends who, you know, I have since left behind me in that chapter of my life. But I've been told by them, you know, get your head out of the clouds, because a lot of these people were afraid to see all the changes I was making, and they saw my wishful thinking and my wanting to jump into my dream job and start my dream life. They saw it as me not being realistic and me not thinking through. And if there's anything you will know about me, if you don't know me very well yet, or if you have known me for a while, you'll know that I'm very, very pragmatic, and that I'm a planner, and I like to be methodical, and I like to make sure that I'm more calculated and precise before I make decisions, so that by the time I do make a decision that seems impulsive or it seems like it's on a whim, it's because I've already thought out the possible, you know, missteps and pitfalls that could possibly happen if I say yes and I take that risk. But by the point in time that I take the risk, it's because I am more worried that the regret will be would be a greater risk than the fear that I will fail from taking that misstep. So let me repeat that, because I know it sounded confusing. For me, when I take risks, it's because the fear of failure is not as great as the fear that I will regret never taking that risk. And like I said, the example was leaving a perceived stable and secure sales job in 2008 to start a coaching business with no clients and only a couple $1,000s in the bank. That was one risk. Another risk was leaving a 10-and-a-half-year marriage because I just could no longer suppress my voice anymore with somebody who didn't appreciate and didn't allow me to be my true self in the relationship. Another example is even with clients I've had, and since I've been coaching, I've had clients who wanted to work a certain way with me, or didn't appreciate the relationship we had or wanted to alter the relationship in a way that best suited them but didn't suit me. And you have to, they call it fire clients. I don't really call it that. I just call it choosing yourself. There are times that you've got to let some people go if they're not a right fit for you and the work that you want to do. So if we bring this conversation back full circle and we're talking about the challenges of finding yourself, especially we women, I do believe that this is not a myth. I believe this is actually really happening. And I believe that it will continue to happen for many years to come, no matter how liberated we've become over time. But even with that, I know that the struggle remains etched in our DNA for many generations to come because, we have suppressed ourselves for a very long time playing the role of I'm everything to everybody. I want to take care of everybody, and there are pros and cons to being the want to take care of everybody person, the person wanting to please everybody. And at the end of the day, as much as it sounds like we're complaining or we're making excuses, I really don't think we are. I think as long as we acknowledge that we typically as women have the tendency to find it hard to choose ourselves and to be selfless at times and say no to others more and to not position ourselves to always be involved in everything and every aspect of the people we love's lives. I think the more we acknowledge that, the more we can make changes to improve how we're positioning ourselves and how we garner respect for ourselves so that people around us will garner that same respect. But we've got to put it out there first. And so there are a few takeaways from today's conversation that I want to share with us all. And whether you're a woman or not, I know we all can gain from certain action items like this to help you break through that whole who am I, and what purpose do I serve here in this world. And I don't think it's an easy answer, and I know it's not an overnight fix, so I don't want anybody here to be falsely led to believe that I have a simple fix, because I don't. I've been working at this for 37 years, you guys, and I'm still learning, and I'm still failing, and I'm still getting back up and improving and iterating every single time. But if it wasn't for the experiences and the mistakes and the pitfalls that I've stepped into and gotten right back out of, I don't think I would have some of these tools to be able to share with you guys today. So given that, here are some things that we can begin doing. Say no more, guys. This is obvious. I know you probably have heard that before, or you've probably read an awesome book about it, but I really, truly, and wholeheartedly mean it. We need to say no more when people ask us for favors or when people ask us to do things. And even if we know we're eventually going to say yes, we need to get into a better habit of just saying no, or let me get back to you, or we'll see, or let me think about it, but just not saying yes immediately, because that gives you the opportunity then to gauge whether or not this favor or this opportunity will align with your goals and your objectives, or did you just completely overwhelm yourself with another task that you've added on top of this list of 20 million things you need to do, right? So I'd say the first step, just say no more. Don't say yes right away. And if you want to go back later after judging this favor and it seems like it's doable and it's in perfect alignment with what you're looking for and it's not going to take too much of your time or energy or resources, and you're okay with that, then go back and say yes. But do not automatically give people the perception that you are going to say yes, because then you become the yes man, and we know what happened in that movie. Okay? So say no more. Say yes less. Ooh, I like that one. Okay, second one. And by the way, I'm just making these up, you guys, because these are things that have worked for me and have worked for clients that I've worked with. The second one, in terms of finding your voice or finding your calling or finding your purpose and feeling more like an individual, is to simply practice that thing that you want to be known for. And here's what I mean by what you want to be known for. That's a whole online content creating kind of, phrase, so it might not make sense to you if you're not in that world. But what that means is, when we were a kid, we wanted to grow up and become something. And so most people were saying doctors, attorneys, engineers, vet, model, actor, whatever, right? I wanted to be a child psychologist at one point, and then I wanted to be a fashion designer at another point, and then I wanted to be a TV news anchor at another point. But at the end of the day, that's not the thing that I want to be known for. If somebody was to ask me, so what do you want to be known for? The best way for me to describe it is in an actual description. I want to be known for being somebody who goes out into the world and makes a very positive impact because she has helped other people to improve themselves as they're going out into the world and changing it and making it a better place. Right? I know it's long-winded, but that's what I want to be known for. You can't label that anything. Nobody can listen to that and go, oh, so a life coach, or oh, so a motivational speaker, oh, so a fashion designer, right? So they can put any label on it, but they don't know definitively if that's the right label. And so for me, that's my one thing that I want to be known for. And it could change over time, but it hasn't for a very, very, very long time. Even when I look back and think about the things I was saying when I was 10, I wanted to be a TV news anchor, a fashion designer. I wanted to be a child psychologist. But at the end of the day, the root reason was, oh, because I want to make a difference in the world and make a positive impact. Got it. That's my one thing. So as we work on the second step here of the action item I want you to take away today, it's just keep honing that thing you want to be known for by practicing it, right? So even if you don't get paid to do it yet, even if you don't have a business card for it yet, even if you're not selling products or services yet, or even if nobody has any clue you're any good at the stuff, show up every day and practice that skill, that craft, that art, that thing. And then one day you'll wake up and people will go, holy crap, where did this overnight success come out of? They're so good at that awesome thing, right? And for me, I've been working at it as a profession for close to 7 years now, but I've been on this journey of wanting to help make a positive impact in the world since I can remember, you guys, since I was a little kid. So 30 plus years. Okay? And I like threes. So the third takeaway from today's conversation, we first talked about the challenges in knowing what your purpose is and knowing, what that calling or your why statement is. The second thing we talked about is, just practicing that skill, that craft, regardless of whether you're getting paid to do it. So I think the third obvious step will be even more actionable. So go out and help somebody. Go out and do it however you can. Do it in the form of a blog post if you're a writer. Do it in the form of calling up a friend who you haven't talked to in a while and see how they're doing and help. Go to a charity and see if you can volunteer time or money. Start a campaign, that will back up a certain cause that you believe in, or attach yourself to somebody else's campaign or movement and be a part of that. But unless you're taking action and you're going out there and helping others and serving others and putting yourself out into the world, it'll be really hard for you to feel like you have some kind of identity, right? If we go back to this whole, I'm just a mom, I'm a soccer mom, I'm a wrestling mom, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter to my parents, instead of feeling like you are somebody to somebody else, I think the best way to start to feel like you have a life of your own and you have this persona that's all your own is by doing things that only you can do really by yourself, meaning you took yourself out of your comfort zone and you went into another zone to do whatever that work is. And I found that through volunteering back in 2009 when I first started volunteering. Actually, it was 2008, I believe, when I first started volunteering. And I became addicted to it because that was the way I could feel like, you know what, I may not have a job yet that I could give back, but why don't I go and volunteer my time? and my resources so that I feel like I have some purpose, since I don't know what my thing is yet that I want to be known for. And so I hope all of those takeaways will help you to feel better about maybe not necessarily knowing what your purpose or your calling or your voice or your vision is yet. It's okay, guys. We don't always know what we're going to do forever, and I don't think we should. That's crazy. I mean, this world is such an abundant place. Life is so abundant. Why not enjoy the journey and go out there and meet people and find out what brings you joy? You know, as my friend Phil Gerbishak always said, you know, you got to go out there and find out what makes your heart sing. And for me, it's getting involved in the community, helping other people, attaching myself to causes, and making a positive difference in the world. And if I happen to get paid to do it, that's even better. That's gravy on top of things. You know, so in my coaching and my speaking and my strategy consulting and my authoring of books, I can embed that idea of making a positive impact in the world. In fact, I mean, that book I wrote about how I was alienated from my son, but somehow I was able to turn that pain into this beautiful ending of this book, which is called The Year of the Brave Bear. And at the end of the book, I talked about how in that year that I was depressed and grieving, missing my son and what happened to me, instead of being seen as a victim, I decided to fuel that pain, and I turned it into strength, and I transformed the story into me living a life worth writing about and being able to tell more stories that are amazing, stories of going out into the world and making a positive impact regardless of all the shit that I was going through, guys. So, you know, it's possible. It's possible that even if you don't know what your calling or your purpose is, you can still go out there. You can still make a difference. People care that you are here. People need to see you. People want to see you. People need to hear you, and people want to hear you. So it's time. Speak up, stand out, change your world. So if you want to check out that book, it's at bravebearbook.com, The Year of the Brave Bear. It's the year I decided to purge the truth and wrote about all the struggles that I was going through. And in the process, I did find my voice. You know, I did find my calling. I did find my purpose. And I unleashed that brave bear in me to do the awesome work that I get to do today. And I hope that that inspires and encourages you to continue to keep showing up, you guys, to continue to keep believing that your stuff is good enough to still be here, to be consumed, to be read, to be listened to. Anyway, I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so glad you show up with me every single week, Brave Bears. So again, bravebearbook.com is where you can check out The Year of the Brave Bear. Otherwise, you see me here every Monday at noon at bernishung.com/live. I will talk to you guys soon. Have a wonderful shin-kicking Monday, and peace out.